Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into one of my all-time favorite anime, One Piece. If you're a fan of epic adventures, wild characters, and unforgettable moments, then you're in for a treat. So without wasting any time, let's jump right into why One Piece holds such a special place in my heart. Gol D. Roger, the Pirate King, had attained enormous wealth, fame, and power. Before he was executed, he announced to the crowd that he had left all his treasure at a certain place that could only be discovered by scouring the entire world, causing the world to enter the Great Age of Pirates. 11 years later, the Red Hair Pirates came to a small port village named Fuchsia Village. After a year of them being there, a young boy named Monkey D. Luffy came to their ship to prove he was tough enough to join them by stabbing his face under his left eye. The pirates and Luffy then went to the bar, where the pirates toasted to Luffy's craziness as they ate and drank. Luffy tried to convince the captain, red-haired Shanks, to let him join the crew, but Shanks gently refused because Luffy was too young and unable to swim. Suddenly, a group of mountain bandits led by Higuma entered the bar and demanded alcohol. The bartender, Makino, told them that the pirates had already drunk all of it. When Shanks offered Higuma the last bottle, he responded by breaking it over Shanks' head, not fearing the pirate due to his 8 million bounty. Shanks simply apologized and cleaned up the mess, causing Higuma to break more dishes before leaving with his gang. Afterward, the Red Hair Pirates just laughed, but Luffy was angry at Shanks for not standing up for himself. He stormed out of the bar, and Shanks tried to grab his arm to hold him back. But to their shock, Luffy kept walking as his arm stretched like rubber. The Red Hair Pirates then realized that the devil fruit they had stolen, the Gomu Gomu no Mi, was no longer in its chest. Luffy confirmed that he had eaten it for dessert. Shanks revealed that Luffy's body was now made of rubber due to eating the devil fruit, and he would be unable to swim for the rest of his life. Sometime later, the Red Hair Pirates had gone off on another voyage, and Luffy was starting to have fun with his new rubber body. One day, however, he was sitting in Makino's bar when Higuma's gang returned and demanded alcohol. Soon afterward, Makino alerted the mayor, Whoop Slap, that Luffy had been kidnapped by the bandits after picking a fight with them. Higuma initially planned to sell Luffy to a circus because of his strange body, but then decided to kill him for angering him. However, Shanks and the Red Hair Pirates returned. When one of the bandits pointed a gun at Shanks, the pirate Lucky Roo shot him. Shanks stated that he could accept an insult toward himself, but would not forgive anyone who harms his friends. His first mate, Ben Beckman, then overpowered the bandit single-handedly, though Higuma managed to escape with Luffy in tow by throwing a smoke bomb. Higuma took Luffy out to sea and kicked him off the boat to drown him. As Luffy struggled to stay afloat, a sea king known as the Lord of the Coast came to eat Higuma. It then moved to eat Luffy, but Shanks arrived just in time to save Luffy and scare the beast away. Shanks was glad Luffy was okay, but Luffy was saddened that he had lost his arm in the process of saving him. Later, the Red Hair Pirates were preparing to leave Fuchsia Village for good. Luffy had decided that he would not try to join them and declared that he would form his own crew that would be stronger than Shanks, find the greatest treasure, and become the Pirate King. To take Luffy up on his word, Shanks gave him his straw hat and told him to return it once he had surpassed him. As the Red Hair Pirates set sail, Shanks and Beckman both anticipated Luffy doing big things in the future. 10 years later, Luffy set sail on his own in a small rowboat. The Lord of the Coast came to confront him, and he quickly took it out with Gomu Gomu no Pistol, where he stretched his arm forward and unleashed a long-range punch. As he drifted out to sea, Luffy plotted to recruit at least 10 crewmates, make a Jolly Roger, and become the Pirate King. Luffy is drifting at sea, trapped inside a barrel. Some sailors on a passing cruise ship find the barrel and bring it on board. But suddenly, a pirate ship led by Alvida attacks the cruise ship with cannon fire. The barrel rolls into the ship's kitchen. Once the cruise ship's sails are destroyed, the Alvida pirates climb on board to steal everything. Alvida also forces a young boy named Kobe, who works for her, to help. At the same time, a girl secretly sneaks onto Alvida's pirate ship to steal treasure. In the kitchen, Kobe and some pirates discover the barrel, and Luffy pops out. He was sleeping inside. After Luffy beats up the angry pirates, he goes with Kobe to the pantry to eat. Luffy explains that he had just started his pirate journey, but a whirlpool destroyed his small boat and left him floating in the barrel. Kobe says he was kidnapped by Alvida's crew while in a rowboat and was forced to become a chore boy. He dreams of escaping and joining the Marines someday. When Alvida hears that Luffy is on the ship, she worries he might be a bounty hunter and goes to confront him and Kobe. A battle breaks out and Luffy easily defeats her crew. Even though Alvida has a huge spiked club, she can't hurt Luffy because he ate a devil fruit that made his body like rubber. Luffy hits her with his Gomu Gomu no Pistol attack, launching her off the ship and into the sea. After the fight, Luffy and Kobe leave the ship in a small boat. They see the same girl who had stolen from Alvida's ship leaving on her own boat too. Luffy tells Kobe he's heading for the Grand Line to find the One Piece treasure, but first he wants to recruit the famous pirate hunter, Roronoa Zoro. Luffy and Kobe arrive at Shell's Town, where there's a marine base. They find Zoro tied up like a prisoner outside the base. A kind little girl named Rika tries to give him some rice balls, but a spoiled man named Helmeppo stops her and crushes them. Later, Zoro still eats the rice balls, even though they're dirty. Outside the base, Rika explains that the town is controlled by a cruel marine officer named Captain Morgan. He lets his son, Helmeppo, bully the people. One day, Helmeppo brought a wild wolf into a bar that attacked people and ate their food. Zoro defended them by hitting Helmeppo. In return, Helmeppo said he'd kill everyone in the bar unless Zoro gave himself up. Zoro agreed and got tied up for a month as punishment. Later, Helmeppo reveals he's going to execute Zoro anyway, even though he promised not to. Luffy gets angry and punches Helmeppo. Then he goes into the marine base to find Zoro's swords. Meanwhile, Captain Morgan tells his soldiers to build a big statue of himself on the roof. Luffy launches himself into the air and crashes into the statue by accident. He grabs Helmeppo and runs off to find Zoro's swords. At the same time, the girl who stole from Alvida is sneaking into the marine base to steal things again. While this is happening, Kobe tries to untie Zoro, but Captain Morgan sees them and orders his men to shoot. Right then, Luffy arrives and protects them by bouncing the bullets off his rubber body. Luffy gives Zoro his swords back. Zoro uses them to cut himself free and fight off the Marines. He tells Luffy that he'll join his crew if he survives the battle. Even though Luffy's devil fruit powers in Zoro's three-sword style are clearly stronger, Captain Morgan still orders his men to attack. Morgan himself joins the fight. His right hand has been replaced with a giant axe. Luffy easily beats Morgan, but then Helmeppo grabs Kobe and threatens to shoot him. While Luffy is distracted, Morgan tries to sneak up and attack him. But Luffy punches Helmeppo in the face, and Zoro stops Morgan by cutting him down. The Marines, who already knew about Morgan's cruel behavior, decide not to fight anymore. Instead, they remove Morgan from his position and arrest him. After the fight, Luffy, Zoro, and Kobe go to a restaurant to celebrate. Kobe explains how the world is divided. There's a huge continent called the Red Line that splits the world into East and West. The Grand Line is a special sea that crosses the Red Line. The legendary pirate Gold Roger said he left his treasure at the end of the Grand Line. Then Ripper, the Marine who took over after Morgan, comes to talk to Luffy. Kobe tells him he wants to join the Marines. Ripper agrees and accepts him. But since Luffy and Zoro are pirates, Ripper tells them they have to leave town. As a thank you for helping defeat Morgan, he promises not to report them to Marine headquarters. Luffy and Zoro agree and continue their journey. Meanwhile, the girl who had been sneaking around the Marine base is looking for a map of the Grand Line. She finds out that the map has already been stolen by another pirate, Buggy. She sets sail to find Buggy and take the map back. While sailing on a small boat, the girl thief is spotted by 3 of Buggy's pirates. She pretends to be a helpless woman lost at sea and tricks the pirates by promising them treasure. But once they get close, she sneaks onto their ship, steals it, and sails away without them knowing. Then a strong wind flips the pirates' boat over. At the same time, Luffy and Zoro are sailing to their next destination. Suddenly, Luffy's special straw hat flies off because the boat shakes. Zoro quickly grabs it and gives it back. This moment reminds us of how important the hat is to Luffy. Back in the present, Luffy gets picked up by a huge bird and carried through the sky. Later, the Buggy pirates who had been left floating in the sea find Zoro's boat and try to steal it, but Zoro quickly defeats them. They warn Zoro that their captain, Buggy, is a dangerous pirate with special powers from a devil fruit. Meanwhile, Luffy is still flying when the bird is shot down by a cannon. Luffy falls into Buggy's territory, where he meets the thief girl for the first time. She had stolen the map and is now being chased by Buggy's crew. The girl tells Luffy her name is Nami. She's a thief who only steals from pirates. After working together with Luffy to escape from Buggy's pirates, they hide in a restaurant. There, Nami says she's trying to collect 100 million berries for a secret reason. She also shows that she's really good at navigating the seas. But then, Nami tricks Luffy. She ties him up and hands him over to Buggy's crew to gain their trust. Buggy accepts her offer, locks Luffy inside a cage, and gets ready to use a Buggy Ball, a huge, powerful cannonball. The pirates fire it into the distance, and it blows up a whole row of houses. Zoro, who just arrived in the town, sees the massive explosion. Next, Buggy tells Nami to fire the Buggy Ball at Luffy, but she doesn't want to. When another pirate lights the fuse, Nami quickly puts it out with her hand, burning herself in the process. Buggy gets angry and tells his pirates to attack her. Zoro shows up to help. He attacks Buggy and cuts off his hand and leg, but Buggy's cut-off hand flies behind Zoro and stabs him. Then the pieces go back and reattach to Buggy's body. Buggy reveals that he ate the Bara Bara no Mi, a devil fruit that lets him split his body into parts and control them. Even though he's hurt, Zoro runs to the cannon and turns it toward Buggy's crew. Nami lights the fuse again, and they fire the cannon at Buggy's pirates. After scaring away Buggy's pirates, an injured Zoro pulls Luffy's cage to a nearby pet food shop. The town's mayor shows up and takes Zoro to his house to treat his wounds. While Zoro is gone, Luffy meets a dog named Choo-Choo, who is guarding the shop. The mayor tells Luffy that Choo-Choo's owner died, and now Choo-Choo stays to protect the shop as a memory of him. Nami arrives with the key to unlock Luffy's cage, but before she can use it, Choo-Choo eats the key, thinking she's a threat. Back with Buggy, he sends his top fighter, Moji the Beast Tamer, to find and defeat Zoro. Moji rides a big lion named Richie, and instead of Zoro, he finds Luffy still trapped in the cage. He orders Richie to attack Luffy, and the lion ends up breaking the cage, which frees Luffy. But Moji then hits Luffy, slamming him into a house and destroying it. Meanwhile, Richie breaks into the pet store, looking for food. He burns the whole shop down, and Choo-Choo tries to stop him, but he's not strong enough. Luffy sees what's happening and steps in. He beats both Richie and Moji, then gives Choo-Choo one box of pet food that survived the fire. Moji returns to tell Buggy he lost, and Buggy gets mad. As revenge, he fires a buggy ball at the town, destroying the mayor's house, with Zoro still inside. Luckily, Zoro survives, but the mayor decides to stand up against Buggy for attacking the town. Nami agrees to team up with Luffy and Zoro for now, and she helps the mayor get ready to face Buggy. Luffy knocks out the mayor, Boodle, to stop him from getting hurt more in the fight. Then Buggy fires a buggy ball at Luffy and the others, but Luffy bounces it back using his rubber body. The explosion destroys most of Buggy's crew, except for Buggy himself, who used his own men as shields, and his partner, Kabaji, who used the lion Richie to block the blast. Kabaji steps up to fight for Buggy, and Zoro accepts the challenge. At first, Kabaji fights dirty, aiming for Zoro's wound to hurt him more. He also rides a unicycle, making it harder for Zoro to hit him. But Zoro fights through the pain and uses his onigiri attack to slash Kabaji in the chest and defeat him. Kabaji falls and Zoro collapses on the ground too, tired and hurt. Now it's just Luffy and Buggy left in the fight. While Zoro and Kabaji are fighting, Nami sneaks away to a nearby pub. She knocks out a pirate guard and uses his key to open a treasure chest. Inside, she finds a map of the Grand Line. Back outside, Luffy and Buggy start their battle. Buggy uses his powers to take his body apart, so he can dodge Luffy's punches. At one point, Buggy damages Luffy's straw hat. Then he stabs it with 3 knives, which makes Luffy really angry. Luffy tells Buggy how important the hat is to him. In return, Buggy says he hates Shanks and starts cursing his name, revealing he has a deep grudge against him. Buggy tells Luffy about his past with Shanks. They were once young pirates working together on the same ship. One day, while their crew was robbing another ship, Buggy secretly found a treasure map and planned to steal it. Later, Shanks told him the crew had also taken a devil fruit, which gave people strange powers. Buggy came up with a plan. He pretended to eat a fake devil fruit in front of everyone so they wouldn't suspect him. Then he hid the real fruit and planned to steal it along with the treasure map, leave the crew, and sell both for money. But just as he was about to escape, Shanks surprised him. In the panic, Buggy accidentally swallowed the real devil fruit and dropped the map into the sea. Since the fruit took away his ability to swim, he couldn't get the map back. His plan failed, and he had to wait 10 more years before he could gather enough money to start his own pirate crew. Back in the present, Buggy sees Nami running away with his treasure. He uses his Bara Bara Festival move to split his body into many pieces to chase her. But Luffy shows up to protect Nami and hits Buggy hard. When Buggy tries to put himself back together, Nami ties up his body parts, making him very small. Then Luffy uses Gomu Gomu no Bazooka to launch Buggy high into the sky, defeating him. Nami gives Luffy the map of the Grand Line, but keeps the rest of the treasure. She agrees to travel with Luffy and Zoro for now, to help her earn more money. Meanwhile, the people of Orangetown, who had run away because of Buggy, start to worry about their mayor. They return to the town and see only Luffy's group, so they wrongly blame them for the destruction. Luffy runs away from the angry villagers, but Choo-Choo the dog knows the truth. He stops the people from chasing Luffy. At the pier, Mayor Boodle wakes up and sees that Buggy is gone, and the town is safe. He rushes to thank Luffy and his crew as they leave. To Nami's shock, Luffy leaves the treasure behind, so the townspeople can use it to fix their homes. Far away on another island, a mysterious man waits for new people to arrive. Luffy and his crew need a better ship to sail the Grand Line, so they stop at Syrup Village, a small island in the south, to find one. In this village, a funny boy named Usopp always plays tricks on the townspeople. One day, he lies and says that pirates are attacking, but the people get annoyed and chase him away. Then one of the kids in Usopp's pretend pirate crew tells him that real pirates have actually arrived on the island. Usopp and his little gang go to the beach to check it out. Usopp tries to scare the pirates away with silly tricks, but Luffy sees through them all. He quickly realizes that Usopp is the son of Yasopp, a sniper from Shanks' pirate crew. After grabbing some food at a local restaurant, the group decides to visit a big mansion on a hill, hoping to ask the owner for help getting a ship. At the mansion, a kind girl named Kaya lives there. She lost her parents and is now taken care of by her strict butler, Klahadore. Kaya is very sick, and Usopp is the only one who can make her laugh. But because of Usopp's bad reputation, Klahadore doesn't let him in. Still, Usopp sneaks into the house to talk to Kaya. Luffy and his crew sneak in too, but Klahadore catches them and gets angry because they entered without permission. Meanwhile, a strange man appears outside the village, walking in a very odd way, like he's moonwalking down the road. Klahadore gets angry and tells Luffy's crew they can't have a ship. Then he turns to Usopp and insults him, saying his pirate father is just a worthless criminal. Usopp gets very angry and tries to attack Klahadore, but Klahadore kicks them all out of the mansion and tells them never to come back. Kaya stays in her room crying. Klahadore comes in and tries to comfort her. He tells her about his past. He was once kicked off a ship and left alone on Syrup Village's shore. Kaya's father took him in and gave him a home, so Klahadore decided to serve Kaya's family and protect her, especially after her parents died. He says Usopp is a bad influence, and he's just trying to protect Kaya from him. Kaya forgives him for how he acted. Meanwhile, Zoro and Nami are with the kids outside the town. One of the kids sees a strange man moonwalking and tells the others. The man says he is a hypnotist. He swings a shiny circle on a string and puts all the kids to sleep, but he also accidentally hypnotizes himself and falls asleep too. Back on a cliff, Luffy and Usopp talk about Usopp's dad, Yasopp. Suddenly, they spot Klahadore secretly meeting the hypnotist, whose name is Django. To their shock, they find out that Klahadore is really Captain Kuro, the evil leader of the Black Cat Pirates. Kuro and Django plan to kill Kaya so they can steal her money. Django will hypnotize her to change her will, making Kuro the heir. Then they'll kill her. Kuro had faked his own death years ago by tricking the Marines into executing someone else in his place. Django also says their pirate ship is already waiting on the island to attack. When Kuro and Django see Luffy and Usopp watching them, Django quickly hypnotizes Luffy, making him fall asleep and fall off the cliff. They ignore Usopp because they believe no one in the village will believe him anyway. Usopp runs back to the village to try and warn everyone. Nami and Zoro go to the cliff to look for Luffy. They find him at the bottom, and when they reach him, they see that he's not hurt. Luffy wakes up and tells them about Klahadore's evil plan. At the same time, Usopp runs to the village to warn everyone that pirates are coming, but no one believes him. They trust Klahadore more than him and think Usopp is just lying again. The villagers even chase him out of town. Usopp then rushes to Kaya's mansion to warn her, but Kaya also doesn't believe him. She thinks it's a mean prank and gets upset. Usopp tries to get Kaya to leave the house, but the mansion guards stop him. Usopp fights them, trying to protect Kaya, but Kaya still refuses to go and slaps Usopp. Then Mary, one of Kaya's servants, shoots Usopp in the arm, and the villagers keep chasing him away. Meanwhile, Kuro meets his pirate crew near their ship. He orders them to destroy the entire village the next day. Later, Luffy's crew, Usopp and the kids, meet at the edge of the village. The children are sad and feel let down by Usopp for what they think is another lie, so they leave. But Luffy and the others believe in Usopp and promise to help him defend Syrup Village from the Black Cat Pirates. The crew gets ready for the pirate attack. There's only one main path into the village from the south side, so they decide to block it. They pour slippery oil on the slope to stop the Black Cat Pirates from climbing up. Meanwhile, Kuro, still pretending to be Klahadore, returns to Kaya's mansion. Kaya is asleep, and Mary is working nearby. Kuro finds a gift from Kaya, special glasses made just for him so they wouldn't fall off, but Kuro breaks them, showing his true identity. He uses his long, sharp claw-like blades to cut down Mary, then walks into Kaya's room to watch her sleep. In the morning, the Black Cat Pirates, led by Django, land on the island. But Usopp forgot there's a second entrance on the north side of the island. The pirates use that path instead. Luffy, Nami, and Usopp rush to the north coast. But Zoro is stuck at the south path because of the slippery slope, and Luffy gets lost on the way. At the north side, Usopp fights back using his slingshot and hits many pirates. He even tries to bribe them with treasure to go away, but Nami stops him. Still, the pirates don't stop coming, and Usopp and Nami can't hold them off. Just in time, Luffy and Zoro arrive and stop the pirates. Back at the mansion, Kuro realizes his crew is late. Angry, he decides to go to the north coast himself, saying he'll kill his whole crew if they ruin his plan. The kids try to enter Kaya's mansion to check if she's okay, but Usopp's secret path is now blocked, and they can't climb the gate. Inside the mansion, Kaya wakes up and finds Mary hurt on the floor. He tells her that Usopp was telling the truth. Klahadore is really a pirate who wants to kill Kaya and steal her family's money. Meanwhile, at the coast, the Black Cat Pirates are losing to Luffy and Zoro. so Django hypnotizes them to make them stronger. The newly hypnotized pirates become super powerful, smashing rocks with their punches. But Django also hypnotizes Luffy by mistake, making Luffy super strong too. Luffy beats up the pirates and even rips off the front of their ship. Then Django puts Luffy to sleep, and the ship's front crashes down and crushes the pirates. As a final attempt, Django calls the Nyabin brothers, Sham and Bucci, who were guarding the ship. They pretend to be scared and weak, tricking Zoro. Sham steals 2 of Zoro's swords, so Zoro has to fight with just one. Usopp tries to help, but he accidentally hits Zoro instead, giving the brothers a chance to cut Zoro's chest. Nami tries to get Zoro's swords back, but Django stops her and cuts her shoulder with his spinning chakram. Suddenly, the pirates all freeze in fear. Captain Kuro arrives, angry that everything is going wrong. Django and the other Black Cat pirates, including Sham and Bucci, are very scared of Kuro. Kuro can't believe his old crew is being stopped by just some kids. He asks Django why this is happening. Django reminds Kuro that he said it would be okay to let Usopp go. Kuro says he thought Usopp wouldn't be able to stop the pirates because no one believed him, but he didn't expect his crew to be so weak. Sham and Bucci get angry. They remember Kuro as a strong and scary pirate, while they were busy fighting other pirates and sinking ships. They say Kuro has become weak. They go to attack Kuro, wanting to kill him. Django tries to warn them, but they don't listen. Just before they hit Kuro, he suddenly disappears and then appears behind them, wearing his special cat claw gloves. Even Zoro is surprised. Sham and Bucci try to attack again, but Kuro disappears again and reappears behind them with his claw knives ready to strike. Django recognizes this move as Kuro's special technique called Nukiashi. Nami is amazed too because even though Sham and Bucci almost defeated Zoro, they can't beat Kuro's quiet and fast moves. Django notices Kuro still uses the trick of lifting his glasses so his claws don't cut them. Nami, hurt but brave, gets up. Kuro gives his crew 5 minutes to kill Zoro, or he will kill them all himself. Sham and Bucci attack Zoro again. Django cheers them on. Nami quickly kicks Zoro's 2 swords to him. Zoro catches them, and even though he's a bit annoyed that Nami kicked his swords without respect, he thanks her. Then Zoro defeats Sham and Bucci using his special move, Toragari. Kuro watches and counts the time. Usopp and the pirates are surprised by Zoro's attack. Django is shocked too. Zoro tells Kuro that he will defeat him in less than 5 minutes. Kuro is a little impressed. Bucci is still able to fight and asks Django to hypnotize him to become stronger. Django does it, and Bucci becomes bigger, stronger, and more fierce. Zoro is surprised but stays calm and gets ready to fight. Meanwhile, Nami goes to wake Luffy, who is sleeping under the ship's figurehead. She presses her foot on his head to wake him up. Luffy wakes just in time to stop Django's swinging weapon from hitting Nami by biting it with his teeth. Luffy and Nami argue about how she woke him. Nami learns that Django's pendulum is also a weapon. Luffy breaks the pendulum with his teeth, which hurts him a little. The Black Cat pirates start to think it will be too hard to beat Luffy and Zoro because they are very strong. After waking Luffy, Nami faints for a little while. The pirates get scared and run away from Luffy. While Bucci fights Zoro, Django gets ready to fight Luffy. Kuro says time is up and he will kill everyone on the North Slope. He is also surprised Luffy is still alive after falling from the cliff because he thought that fall would have killed him. Before Kuro can attack, Kaya arrives and begs him to stop. Usopp saves her just before Kuro tries to hurt her. Kaya says she can't watch Usopp get hurt protecting her. She talks to Kuro and offers to give him her fortune if he leaves the village alone. But Kuro says he wants more than her money. He wants peace. He says the Black Cat pirates will still attack Syrup Village and kill her. Kaya pulls out a gun and points it at Kuro. She threatens to shoot him if he and his pirates don't leave right now. Kuro tricks her by talking about the last 3 years they spent together. He says those 3 years were an insult to his pride as a pirate. He takes the gun from her and throws it on the ground. Usopp quickly grabs the gun and tries to shoot Kuro, but Kuro uses his Nukiashi move to suddenly appear behind Usopp with his cat claw gloves ready to attack. Kuro wants to kill Usopp to punish him for hitting him earlier, but Luffy stops Kuro by punching him hard with his Gomu Gomu, no pistol. Kuro falls to the ground. The Usopp pirates come to help and start beating Kuro while he is down. But Kuro gets up and quickly knocks Usopp to the ground. Now that Kuro knows Luffy has a devil fruit power, he decides to focus on fighting Luffy himself. He tells Django to chase and kill Kaya. Usopp is hurt and can't fight anymore, but he tells the children to protect Kaya while she tries to run away from Django. Zoro tries to help Luffy, but Bucci, who has become stronger, stops him. Bucci causes a lot of trouble with his powerful attacks, but Zoro uses his 3 swords to cut Bucci down. Kuro makes fun of Usopp for being weak, but still wanting to be brave. His crew laughs too, but then Luffy throws a big boulder at the crew and attacks them. With Luffy's permission, Zoro leaves the fight to help protect Kaya from Django. Luffy keeps fighting Kuro, but Kuro dodges every attack using his Nukiashi technique. Even though his crew cheers for him as their captain, Kuro says he doesn't want to be a pirate captain anymore. He tells how, when he was at sea, he got tired of running away from the Marines. One day when his ship was attacked by a Marine ship, Kuro sneaked on board and killed all the Marines except one soldier. Django hypnotized that soldier and one of Kuro's crew who looked like him. The hypnotized crewman believed he was Kuro, and the soldier sent him to the Marines. The Marines thought this crewman was really Kuro, so they arrested and executed him. This way, Kuro was free and could live peacefully, only needing the money he inherited from Kaya. Back in the present, Kuro continues fighting Luffy. Luffy uses the boulder again to break off all the blades on Kuro's right glove. Luffy says that since Kuro wanted to stop being a pirate, his own dream is bigger than that. The children take Kaya through the forest to hide from Django. Zoro and Usopp try to find them, but Kaya gets sick and can't keep running. The children try to trick Django by pretending to give up, then attacking him with their weapons and a falling tree log. But it doesn't work because Django isn't hurt. Django threatens to kill the children. Kaya agrees to sign the will like Django wants, so he will spare the children. But before Django can hurt Kaya, Zoro and Usopp find them and come to help. At the northern coast, Kuro says he plans to kill all his crew so none of them can betray him later. His usual Nukiashi attacks don't work against Luffy, so he uses a new move called Shakushi. This attack is very fast and cuts everything and everyone around him, making him invisible to his enemies. Even though Luffy is the only one fighting him, Kuro's attack also hurts his own crew badly. Luffy gets hurt too and has a hard time fighting against Kuro's fast attacks. Kuro tries to use his Shakushi attack on Luffy again, but this time Luffy uses his rubber body to hold Kuro still. Then Luffy stretches his neck back and hits Kuro hard with a headbutt called Gomu Gomu no Kane, knocking Kuro out and breaking his glasses. After winning, Luffy tells the rest of the Black Cat pirates to leave the island, taking Kuro with them. At the same time, Zoro and Usopp come to protect Kaya from Django. Zoro cuts a tree branch so Usopp can shoot his special fired pellet called Hisatsu, Kayaku Boshi, which explodes right in Django's face and defeats him. Usopp asks the children not to tell anyone he did this because he doesn't want to be called a hero. After thanking the crew for their help, Usopp talks to the children. He says he wants to leave the village and become a real pirate. He tells each child to follow their own dreams and breaks up the crew. To say thank you for their bravery, Kaya gives the crew the Going Merry, a full-size ship made by Merry. The crew happily accepts the ship and decides to take Usopp with them as a new crew member. Merry tells Kaya about Usopp's past. When Usopp was a child, his father Yasopp left to become a pirate with Shanks, leaving Usopp and his mother behind. Soon after, Usopp's mother died from sickness. Feeling lonely, Usopp became the village liar, hoping his lies would come true and that his father would come back. Now the children take Usopp's place as the village liar, warning people about a coming pirate attack. While sailing, Luffy makes a new flag for their crew called a Jolly Roger. After he finishes the design, Usopp paints it on the ship's sails. Then Nami sees an island nearby called the Island of Rare Animals. People say it has amazing treasures but is protected by the gods. The crew decides to stop at the island to look for treasure. But soon, strange mixed-up animals and a mysterious man who says he is a god, appear. The man tries to use traps to stop the crew, but they don't work. When he tries to run away, they catch him and find out his name is Gaimon. Gaimon had been stuck inside a treasure chest for 20 years. Luffy quickly becomes friends with Gaimon, but Gaimon warns them that the sea ahead, called the Grand Line, is full of dangers. Gaimon tells his story. He was once a boy on a pirate ship and came to this island to find treasure. After searching for a month with his crew and finding nothing, the crew wanted to leave. Gaimon found some treasure on top of a mountain, but fell into an empty treasure chest and got stuck. His crew had already sailed away without him. The crew decides to look for the treasure themselves. When Luffy climbs the mountain, he finds 5 treasure chests, but all are empty. Luffy asks Gaimon to join their crew, but Gaimon says no. He has made friends with the animals on the island and feels happy living there. He says knowing there was no treasure gave him peace and freedom. Gaimon thanks the crew for their help, and then they leave the island, sailing to their next adventure. After Luffy finds a box of cannonballs on the ship, he and Usopp start playing with the cannons. Meanwhile, Zoro takes a nap and dreams about his childhood. When Zoro was young, he was a dojoyaburi, someone who challenges sword schools at Shimotsuki village. He would fight other dojos to prove he was the strongest, but when he challenged the dojo run by Kushiro, he lost to Kushiro's daughter, Quina. Because he lost, he had to join their dojo as a student. Zoro trained very hard and became strong enough to beat the adults in the dojo, but he still couldn't beat Quina. One day, Zoro and Quina fought again using real swords instead of practice swords. Quina won for the 2000th time, but she was sad because she believed she could never become the best sword fighter since she was a girl. Zoro and Quina promised each other that they would both train hard and one of them would become the world's greatest swordsman. They kept training hard, but sadly Quina fell downstairs and died. Zoro decided to become the world's greatest swordsman to keep his promise to her. Kushiro gave Zoro Queen a special sword, the Wado Ichimonji, to help him train. Zoro trained for 8 more years before leaving the dojo to become a pirate hunter. Back in the present, Luffy fires the cannon at a faraway rock. Then when the crew goes to the kitchen, they find Johnny, Zoro's old friend. Johnny explains that his friend and partner, Yosaku, got sick from an unknown disease. They stopped at a big rock so Yosaku could rest. But then Luffy's cannonball hit that rock. Johnny thought it was on purpose and got angry. The crew takes the sick Yosaku onto their ship. Nami checks him and says he has scurvy, a sickness caused by not having enough vitamin C. They give him lime juice to help him get better, then let him rest. The crew decides they need someone who is good at cooking to take care of their food. So they plan to stop at the Barati, a floating restaurant on a ship. When they arrive, Marine Officer Fullbody is there for a date, but he tells his men to destroy the cruise ship. Luffy stops the cannonball with his rubber body, but it hits the roof of the Barati, making a big hole and hurting the head chef, Zeph. Luffy has no money to pay for the damage, so Zeph makes him work as a helper for a whole year to pay for it. While this is happening, Fullbody argues with the restaurant's sous chef, Sanji, because Fullbody tried to put a fly in his soup. The argument gets worse, and Fullbody breaks a table, spilling the soup on the floor. Sanji gets mad and fights Fullbody using his legs. Hearing the noise, the other crew members come into the restaurant to see what's going on. Patty, the Barati's pastry chef, scolds Sanji for fighting Fullbody. Zeph, the head chef, hits Luffy from above, making him fall through the floor into the dining area. While Zeph, Patty, and Sanji keep arguing, Fullbody tries to run away. But his crew tells him that Don Krieg, a very dangerous pirate in East Blue, has escaped even though he was starving for days. Then Gin, one of Krieg's officers, shows up at the restaurant asking for food. Patty refuses to feed him because he can't pay, and she even pushes him outside. But Sanji feels sorry for Gin and gives him a nice seafood risotto dish. Luffy, watching from above, invites Sanji to join their crew. But Sanji says no because he has reasons to stay at the Barati. Gin warns Luffy that the Grand Line is full of danger. Gin leaves on his ship to go back to Don Krieg. Luffy and Sanji go back to work. Luffy tries to help in the kitchen but is clumsy and causes a mess. Patty tells him to be a waiter instead, so he goes to take orders from customers. Meanwhile, Sanji flirts with Nami, which annoys Zeph. Later, Gin goes back to Don Krieg, and even though Sanji was kind to him, they plan to attack the Barati. Sanji tries to impress Nami by giving her a fruit dessert, but this starts a fight with Zeph. Then a thick fog comes, and the customers see that Krieg's fleet has arrived. Everyone quickly leaves the restaurant because they are scared of Krieg. Krieg comes into the Barati with Gin. He begs for food and promises not to attack if they feed him. Even though Patty and the staff don't want to, Sanji agrees to give Krieg a bowl of rice. Krieg eats it quickly, but after finishing, he breaks his promise and starts attacking the Barati. His ship is damaged and he has many hungry crew members, so he demands the staff feed all his men and leave the Barati so he can take over the ship. Sanji tries to do what Krieg wants, but the other staff stop him because they don't want to give up the ship. Patty even throws an explosive meatball at Krieg, but his golden armor protects him, and he is not hurt. Then guns come out of his armor, and he starts shooting at the kitchen staff. At this point, Zeph decides to give in and starts feeding Krieg's crew. Zeph scolds Krieg for failing to enter the Grand Line. Krieg knows Zeph as a former pirate who fought using only his legs, but he also knows Zeph retired after losing a leg. Krieg says he just needs the knowledge from Zeph's old logbook to get back to the sea. He goes back to his ship to feed his crew and warns the staff to leave before he comes back. Gin, not knowing Krieg's real plan to betray the Barati, apologizes for Krieg's actions. He explains that most of the Krieg pirates' fleet was destroyed by one man, who they think is the famous fighter called Hawkeyes. Out of 50 ships and 5,000 pirates, only Krieg's main ship with 100 men survived, helped by a storm that brought them back to East Blue. Krieg feeds his crew and says he plans to scrap his damaged ship, take over the Barati, and return to the Grand Line. He even shoots a crew member who disagrees, but before they can start their attack, a single sword slice cuts their ship in half. Hawkeyes has followed them to the Barati. The ship sinks, and the pirates fall into the sea. They also find Johnny and Yosaku floating nearby, who tell them that Nami left the crew and took the ship with her. Yosaku tells how he and Johnny lost the Going Merry. While they weren't looking, Nami pushed them both into the sea. She said she had some business to take care of and sailed the ship away, leaving the crew behind. Right after Johnny and Yosaku fell into the water, they saw the Krieg pirates' main ship get destroyed. Zoro recognizes the attacker as Dracul Hawkeye's Mihawk, who is said to be the world's strongest swordsman. Mihawk says he attacked the Krieg pirates just for fun. Zoro challenges Mihawk to a fight, and Mihawk agrees. But since Mihawk is much stronger, he fights using a small sword called a kogatana. Their battle begins. Even though Zoro uses 3 swords, he can't land a hit on Mihawk. Mihawk blocks every attack with his kogatana. Later, Mihawk wounds Zoro by stabbing his chest. Seeing how determined Zoro is, Mihawk decides to use his special sword, Yoru. With it, Mihawk breaks 2 of Zoro's swords and hurts him more, but Zoro's Wado Ichimonji sword stays safe. In the end, Mihawk slashes Zoro across the chest, knocking him out. Mihawk lets Zoro live on purpose and tells him to get stronger so he can one day beat Mihawk. Zoro promises never to lose again until he defeats Mihawk. Happy with the fight, Mihawk leaves and doesn't chase Krieg anymore. With no more interruptions, Krieg gets ready to attack the Baratie. Luffy tells Usopp and Zoro to go after Nami, while he will fight Krieg alone. Zeph agrees to cancel Luffy's debt if Luffy can stop the invasion. Krieg talks to his crew about his plan. He says if they take over the Baratie, they can use its simple look to trick people. Zeph's old logbook might help them find their way through the Grand Line and learn about the famous treasure, One Piece. This makes his men ready to fight. To keep the restaurant safe, Sanji tells a staff member to raise the fins, which are 2 platforms on the sides of the restaurant where the fight can happen. The Krieg pirates come in on the Baratie's portside fin. While the chefs fight, Patty and Karn use a fish-shaped paddle boat called the Sabagashira Marn to attack Krieg, but Krieg's armor protects him from their attacks, and he throws the boat back at the Baratie, crashing it into the fin. The chefs charge at the pirates but get beaten. Patty and Karn remember how the Baratie accepted them and fight harder, defeating many enemies. But then they are taken down by one of Krieg's officers, Iron Wall Pearl, a man covered in metal shields. Pearl brags that he has never lost a fight or even bled, but when Krieg hits the mast Luffy is holding, Luffy falls and accidentally hits Pearl from behind. Pearl hits his head on a shield and starts bleeding from his nose, ruining his perfect record. Angry, Pearl sets himself on fire, and the fire spreads across the fin. Even so, Sanji fights Pearl using only his legs and hits him many times. Pearl gets pushed back and is knocked out by a falling mast. After this win, Gin surprises Zeph by catching him off guard and holding him at gunpoint. Gin points a gun at Zeph and threatens to shoot him. Pearl, who is getting better after Sanji's attacks, says that Gin will shoot if Sanji tries to dodge Pearl's next attacks, so Sanji has no choice but to take the hits and gets hit hard on the head by Pearl's shields. While lying down, Sanji thinks about his childhood with Zeph. When Sanji was a kid, he worked as a cook on a cruise ship. One day, Zeph and his crew, the Cook Pirates, attacked the ship. They stole from it and beat Sanji. Even then, Sanji talked about his dream to find the legendary sea called the All Blue. Suddenly, a big storm hit, and a huge wave threw Sanji overboard. Zeph risked his life and jumped into the sea to save him. But another wave sank both ships, and everyone was believed to be lost. Zeph tried to save Sanji, but his leg got stuck in the wreckage. To free himself, Zeph had to cut off his own leg with a chain. Then he carried Sanji to a small, lonely island. They shared the little food they had and took turns watching for rescue ships. Sanji tried to make his food last for 20 days, but it ran out early, and he went hungry for days. One day, he got mad at Zeph and checked Zeph's bag. To Sanji's shock, Zeph's food share was actually treasure. Zeph had given all the food to Sanji. Zeph said he shared Sanji's dream of finding the All Blue, so he gave up his leg to help Sanji keep that dream alive. Later, a ship rescued them, and Zeph and Sanji started the Baratie restaurant together. Back in the present, Sanji stands up to Pearl, ready to fight to protect the Baratie. Angry at the Krieg pirates, Luffy uses his move Gomu Gomu no Ono and destroys the whole portside fin where the battle is happening. After Luffy destroys the Baratie's fin, Krieg tells Gin to kill Sanji, but Gin hesitates because Sanji was the one who kindly fed his crew. Pearl tries to kill Sanji himself, but Gin attacks Pearl instead. He breaks Pearl's front shield and knocks him out. Gin decides to fight Sanji himself to thank him for his kindness, while Krieg focuses on fighting Luffy. Gin is known as the Man Demon because he is very cruel. He fights Sanji using 2 heavy tonfa weapons. Sanji manages to knock Gin down at first, but Gin quickly gets up and badly beats Sanji. After pinning Sanji down, Gin feels guilty and can't finish him off. Because of how kind Sanji was, Gin asks Krieg to stop the attack, but Krieg refuses and scolds Gin for not following orders. Krieg then decides to use a deadly poison gas bomb called MH5. His crew puts on gas masks to stay safe. The chefs dive underwater to avoid the gas, and Zeph hides inside the restaurant. Luffy takes gas masks off 2 of Krieg's men and gives them to Sanji and Gin to protect them. But Luffy can't find a mask for himself before the bomb explodes. Luffy didn't have a gas mask to protect himself from Krieg's poison gas, but Gin gave his own mask to Luffy, saving him. Gin breathed in the poison instead and got very sick, with internal bleeding. While the restaurant staff helped Gin, Luffy fought Krieg. Luffy broke through Krieg's defenses and punched him in the face through his spiked cape called the Kenzan Mantle. Krieg used his armor's shoulder pieces to make a big spear called the Daisenso. This spear caused explosions every time it hit something. To fight back, Luffy punched the spearhead 5 times in a row. Each punch caused an explosion that hurt Luffy, but he kept going until he broke the spear's tip. Zeph was impressed by Luffy's courage and how he never gave up. After breaking the Daisenso spear, Luffy keeps fighting Krieg. At one point, Krieg climbs up a mast, and Luffy hits him with a powerful punch called Gomu Gomu no Bazooka, cracking his armor. Krieg tries to scare Luffy with explosives, but Luffy punches him again with another bazooka, breaking the armor completely. Krieg traps Luffy in a net and tries to make them both fall into the sea so Luffy will drown. But Luffy breaks free, grabs Krieg's face with his feet, and slams him hard into the Barate's fin with a move called Gomu Gomu no Ozuchi, knocking Krieg out and winning the fight. Luffy falls into the sea, but Sanji saves him and brings him back to safety. Krieg wakes up in a panic and starts attacking his own crew. Gin stops him by knocking him out again. Gin then takes control and orders all the Krieg pirates to retreat. He promises they will rebuild their crew and meet Luffy's crew again on the Grand Line. Sanji gives them the Barate's supply ship to escape on. On the Going Merry, Nami feels sad about stealing the ship. She cries, saying she wants to be free and thinks about Belmare. After kicking out the Krieg pirates, Luffy asks Sanji to join his crew, but Sanji says no. However, Sanji talks about his dream of finding the All Blue, a special ocean where all the seas come together. Zeph hears this conversation between Sanji and Luffy. The restaurant staff try Sanji's soup, but Patty, Karn, and Zeph pretend they don't like it to encourage Sanji to go with Luffy. Sanji gets angry and leaves the dining area. Then Zeph tells Luffy what he really wants, and Sanji hears this from outside. Finally, Sanji agrees to join Luffy's crew as their cook. A shark comes to the Barate with Yosaku in its mouth. Yosaku says he couldn't follow Nami exactly, but figured out where she might be going, and warns it's a dangerous place. The crew gets ready to leave. Luffy packs food from the kitchen, and Sanji prepares to go. Before leaving, Sanji bows deeply to Zeph and thanks him for everything he did. Meanwhile, the Going Merry is getting close to an island controlled by a scary pirate crew. While sailing, Yosaku tells Luffy and Sanji where Nami is going. Arlong Park. It's the base of Arlong, a very dangerous pirate in East Blue. Yosaku thinks Nami wants to get Arlong's bounty. He warns that Arlong is a fish man from the Grand Line, so he is much stronger than Krieg. Arlong used to work with Jinbe, who is one of the 7 warlords of the sea, a group of powerful pirates approved by the government, like Mihawk. Then Yosaku, Luffy, and Sanji go to the kitchen to eat lunch. Nami reaches Arlong Park, where Arlong is paying off a corrupt marine officer. Zoro arrives at the island ready to fight, but Usopp and Johnny stop him. They tie him up with rope and sail the ship around the island. Fishmen living there see the ship, so Usopp and Johnny run away, leaving Zoro stuck on the ship. Zoro is caught by Arlong's pirates and questioned by Arlong. Arlong says fishmen are much stronger than humans and can breathe underwater. Then Nami comes and tells Zoro she works as an officer and mapmaker for Arlong. Usopp and Johnny get to Gosa Village, but find it destroyed, with houses turned upside down. A fishman from the village says the sea monster Momu, working for Arlong pirates, destroyed it because the villagers protested Arlong's rule. The fishman reveals he is an Arlong pirate and tries to catch Usopp, but a human woman named Nojiko saves Usopp by distracting the pirate. They go to Nojiko's house. Luffy, Sanji, and Yosaku are eating on the ship's deck, but their food attracts Momu, a sea monster that looks like a cow and belongs to the Arlong pirates. Momu attacks the ship to get the food, but Luffy and Sanji fight him off and push him back into the sea. Then Luffy makes Momu carry the ship to Arlong Park. Usopp is taken to Nojiko's house. There, Chabo tells Usopp that his father was killed by Arlong when Gosa Village was destroyed. Usopp also learns that Nami works for Arlong. Nojiko says she is Nami's adopted sister. Usopp feels sad and betrayed by Nami, even though he thinks she really liked being with their crew. Meanwhile, Zoro faces Arlong and Nami. He notices Nami acts strangely when they talk about her mother's death. Zoro tries to escape by jumping into a pool, but he can't swim because he's tied up with ropes. Nami jumps in and saves him, then orders her pirates to lock him up. A fishman then reports seeing Usopp near Kokoyashi Village, so Arlong decides to go there. While Arlong is gone, Zoro fights and defeats all the pirates at the base. In Kokoyashi Village, Usopp and Nojiko hide from Arlong. Arlong is arguing with a man named Genzo because Genzo has a weapon. Nojiko explains that Arlong thinks humans are weaker and uses them however he wants. He forces everyone to pay him money every month to stay alive. Arlong destroyed Gosa Village because someone didn't pay. He plans to use the money to control all of East Blue. Arlong thinks just having a weapon is rebellion, so he decides to kill Genzo. Usopp stops him by shooting Arlong with his slingshot from a rooftop. Angry, Arlong lifts the whole house Usopp is on and slams it into another house. Worried they might lose money, Arlong's crew tie him up to stop him from destroying the village. Genzo gets treated for his injuries. Nami visits a grave on a cliff and says she wants to earn 100 million berries to buy her village back from Arlong. As Luffy, Sanji, and Yosaku ride on Momu toward Arlong Park, Zoro finishes defeating all the enemies at the base. Then he runs into one of Arlong's officers, Hachan, who mistakes Zoro for a visitor. Hachan kindly offers to give Zoro a ride to Kokoyashi Village. Zoro leaves with him just before Arlong comes back and sees the wrecked base. Arlong is told that the prisoner they had captured earlier was actually pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro. Meanwhile, Usopp is being chased by angry Arlong pirates. He manages to escape from the weaker ones but falls off a cliff. One of Arlong's officers, Chu, finds him and takes him back to Arlong Park to be questioned. Another officer, Kurubi, thinks Nami was the one who brought Zoro to the base and let him escape. Nami arrives and denies the accusations, but Kurubi says he found a treasure map in her house, suggesting she might be hiding treasure in the village. To prove her loyalty to the Arlong pirates, Nami stabs Usopp in the stomach and he falls into the pool. After this, Arlong's officers believe that Nami is still on their side and let her go. Nami goes to her office but sees that Luffy's ship has reached Arlong Park. The ship is suddenly thrown into the air, flies past Zoro in the forest, and crashes into a rice field. At the same time, Johnny, who saw Nami stab Usopp, tells the others that Nami has killed Usopp. Nami meets Luffy and the crew at the rice field. She tells them clearly that she's loyal to the Arlong pirates and asks them to leave the island before they get into trouble. But Luffy refuses. He says he won't leave without Nami, and even lies down on the road to take a nap, showing he's serious about staying. Johnny and Yosaku, scared of the danger, decide to leave and say goodbye to Zoro. Then Usopp shows up, alive and safe. He explains that Nami didn't really stab him. Instead, she stabbed her own hand to trick the Arlong pirates and help him escape without getting hurt. Meanwhile, the Marine 77th branch, led by Commodore Pudding Pudding, arrives to save people from Gosa Village and stop Arlong. Arlong sends just 3 of his officers to deal with them. Chu scares the Marines on the ship, Kurubi destroys the ship's rudder, and Hatchin creates a whirlpool to sink the ship. The whole ship sinks, and it looks like all the Marines are gone. Later, Arlong secretly calls in another group, Marine 16th branch led by Captain Nezumi, to go to Nami's house. He does this to make sure Nami never gets to buy back Kokoyashi Village with her saved money. At Nami's house, Nojiko visits her. Nami tells her she really did enjoy being with Luffy and the crew. Chu, Kurubi, and Hatchin go to check out a report about a flying ship. They find the broken pieces of Luffy's ship in a rice field and spot Luffy casually walking nearby. They confront him. At the same time, Nojiko tells the rest of Luffy's crew about Nami's past. She explains that she and Nami were both raised in Kokoyashi Village by a kind woman named Belle-Mare. Belle-Mare was a farmer who grew macans, oranges, and didn't have much money. Nami loved drawing maps and often stole books from the village bookstore to learn more. Belle-Mare always made sure Nami and Nojiko had food, even if it meant she only ate macans herself. Nami also had to wear Nojiko's old clothes. One day, Nami got upset about how poor they were and ran away from home. She ended up at Genzo's office. There, Genzo told her the truth about how Belle-Mare adopted them. He said Belle-Mare was once a Marine and met Nojiko and baby Nami while traveling. She brought them back to the village and raised them like her own daughters. Later, Nojiko found Nami and brought her back home for dinner with Belle-Mare. But then, everything changed. The Arlong pirates attacked Kokoyashi Village. Arlong claimed the whole island as his territory and forced every person to pay a monthly fee to stay alive. Soon after, the pirates saw smoke coming from the edge of the village and headed toward Belle-Mare's house. Nami and Nojiko, knowing Belle-Mare didn't have enough money to pay the fee, ran home in fear. The Arlong pirates came to Belle-Mare's house to collect the monthly payment. Belle-Mare couldn't fight back against Arlong and only had 100,000 bellies, enough money to pay for just one person. The villagers tried to help by pretending Nojiko and Nami weren't her daughters so Belle-Mare could save herself. But Belle-Mare refused to lie. She said proudly that Nojiko and Nami were her children and chose to use the money to pay for them instead of herself. After saying goodbye to her daughters, Arlong shot and killed her in front of them. Later, Arlong saw a map Nami had drawn and was impressed by her skills. He forced her to join his crew and gave her money. Nami secretly made a deal. If she gave Arlong 100 million bellies, he would let her buy back her village's freedom. So Nami became a pirate thief. She stole from other pirates and hid her money underground, trying to save enough. But in the present, something terrible happens. Captain Nezumi shows up and claims all of Nami's treasure because it was stolen. He takes it away, saying it now belongs to the government. Even though Nami begs him not to, Nezumi takes all of her saved up money. Nami realizes that Arlong secretly sent Nezumi so he wouldn't have to give up the village like he promised. When Nami tries to fight back, Nezumi shoots Nojiko in the back. As a doctor treats Nojiko's wounds, Nami goes to Arlong and demands answers. Arlong says he didn't break their deal because he wasn't the one who took the money. Nezumi did. Feeling completely betrayed, Nami goes back to her village. There, she finds the villagers, led by Genzo, getting ready to fight Arlong, even though she doesn't want them to. Nami tries to stop them because she knows they don't stand a chance against Arlong's power, but they're determined to fight anyway and head toward Arlong Park. Overwhelmed with anger and sadness, Nami starts stabbing the Arlong tattoo on her shoulder again and again. Then crying, she finally turns to Luffy and asks for help.
Luffy, help me.
Luffy puts his hat on her head and says yes. The crew heads straight for Arlong Park. Meanwhile, Johnny and Yosaku stop the villagers from entering, so Luffy and his crew can handle the fight themselves. The crew break into Arlong Park, and Luffy punches Arlong right in the face. Hatchin realizes Zoro is the famous swordsman who escaped, and when the crew sees Usopp alive, the Arlong pirates understand that Nami has betrayed them. Hatchin calls Momu, the sea creature, to defeat the crew, but Luffy uses a spinning attack called Gomu Gomu no Kazaguruma, knocking Momu out and defeating all the pirates except Arlong and his top 3 officers. However, Luffy gets stuck. His feet are planted deep into the ground from his last move, and he can't move. Arlong's officers then step forward to fight. Hatchin tries to trap Luffy by spraying squid ink and dropping heavy debris on him, but Luffy isn't hurt. He's just still stuck in place. The rest of the crew step in. Sanji takes on Kurubi. Zoro fights Hatchin. Usopp annoys Chu, who starts chasing him. Since Luffy is still stuck and can't move, Arlong decides to play a cruel game. He lifts Luffy, along with the chunk of ground stuck to his legs, and throws him into the water to drown. Zoro and Sanji want to save him, but can't yet, because they are still busy fighting Hatchin and Kurubi, who are both stronger underwater. Zoro starts fighting Hatchin. Even though Hatchin doesn't have weapons at first, Zoro struggles because he's still badly hurt from his fight with Mihawk, and only has one sword left. While this fight goes on, Sanji gets distracted, and Kurubi uses that moment to attack him. Since Zoro and Sanji are too busy and can't save Luffy, Genzo and Nojiko sneak into the base to help. They jump into the pool where Luffy is drowning. Genzo tries to break the cement stuck to Luffy's feet but can't. Nojiko lifts Luffy's head above the water so he can breathe, and Genzo stays underwater trying to save him. Meanwhile, Hatchin goes into the building to get his 6 swords, one for each of his arms. Zoro borrows 2 swords from Johnny and Yosaku so he can use his 3-sword style again. Hatchin attacks Zoro's injuries, stabbing him in the stomach, but even though he's badly hurt, Zoro uses Tatsumaki, a spinning sword attack, to break all 6 of Hatchin's swords and launch him into the air, winning the fight. But Zoro is now too injured to move or swim, so he can't save Luffy. Sanji has to dive into the water to help, even though Kurubi is stronger underwater. As soon as Sanji jumps in, Kurubi attacks him from behind. At the same time, Chu is still chasing Usopp through the island. Nami, after finishing bandaging her wounds at home, decides to return to Arlong Park and help in the fight. In the water, Kurubi has the upper hand against Sanji. He wraps Sanji with his hair and hits him using fishman karate, keeping him from swimming back up. Then he dives deep underwater with Sanji, letting the water pressure hurt him. But Sanji fights back by blowing air into Kurubi's gills, which causes him pain. Sanji escapes and swims back to the surface. Back on land, Sanji now has the advantage. Even though Kurubi warns he'll use his strongest move, Sanji attacks fast and hard. He finishes the fight with a powerful kick called Muton Shot, sending Kurubi flying through the building and defeating him. Elsewhere, Usopp pretends to be dead so Chu won't attack him. But Usopp decides not to run away and fights back. He hides in the forest while Chu spits water like bullets using water from the fields. Usopp had already poured flammable wine on Chu, so he lights it with a fire attack, setting Chu on fire. Then Usopp hits him over and over with a hammer until Chu is knocked out. Back at Arlong Park, Genzo and Nojiko switch. Now Nojiko is underwater helping Luffy. Arlong starts attacking Zoro and Sanji by shooting powerful water blasts at them. Just then, Nami arrives ready to fight. She declares that she's going to take on Arlong herself. Arlong tells Nami that if she gives up, he won't hurt the people of Kokoyashi village, only her crew. But Nami refuses his deal. She chooses to fight, even if it puts the villagers at risk. Meanwhile, Nojiko manages to wake up Luffy, but his body is still stuck underwater. Sanji dives in to help break the cement holding Luffy down. On land, Zoro fights Arlong and tries to break Arlong's sharp saw-shaped nose, which Arlong claims can't be broken. Just then, Usopp shows up and proudly says he defeated Chu. Arlong attacks Zoro with his nose, stabbing him and winning the fight. He sees Zoro's bandages and realizes he's already badly hurt from his fight with Mihawk. Underwater, Sanji is about to free Luffy, but suddenly Hatchin wakes up and tries to stop him. However, Hatchin's old injuries from Zoro open up again, and he faints from losing too much blood. Sanji finally breaks the cement, and Luffy is free. Luffy flies out of the pool and attacks Arlong with a series of strong moves. He also makes fun of Arlong's fish-like face, which makes Arlong even angrier. Arlong attacks Luffy, showing off how powerful his jaws are by biting through a stone pillar and breaking swords with his teeth. Luffy hits Arlong in the face, breaking his teeth, but Arlong reveals a scary trick. He can grow new teeth, and each new set is even stronger. He even pulls out his extra teeth and uses them like weapons. Luffy grabs one of Arlong's teeth sets and puts it in his own mouth, using it like a weapon too. Next, Arlong uses a move called Shark on Darts, where he jumps into the water, then charges at Luffy like a torpedo using his sharp nose. He does this several times, but Luffy blocks him using his stretchy rubber arms. Getting really angry, Arlong powers up into a rage mode, making him even stronger, kind of like the Sea Kings. He grabs his weapon, the Kiribachi, a huge saw-like sword with teeth. Arlong slams Luffy through the wall and into a room inside the base. There, Luffy finds Nami's map room, full of maps she worked hard to make. Seeing this, Luffy says Nami is his navigator, showing how much he cares about her. Luffy sees Nami's old pen covered in blood, showing how much she suffered while working as Arlong's cartographer. Arlong brags about using Nami for his own gain. Angry, Luffy breaks Arlong's saw-like sword with his bare hands and then smashes the sea maps and furniture in the room. People outside the base see the furniture flying out, and Nami, watching, thanks Luffy for doing that. Arlong bites Luffy's shoulder in anger, but Luffy breaks Arlong's nose. For his last attack, Arlong tries his Shark on Tooth move again, but Luffy stomps on Arlong's back with his Gomu Gomu no Ono rubber axe attack. Arlong crashes down through several floors and falls unconscious at the bottom. The building starts to collapse from all the damage. Luffy comes out of the rubble and tells Nami she's now part of his crew. Nami happily agrees. The villagers want to celebrate their freedom, but Nezumi's Marines arrive and try to take Arlong's treasure for themselves. The crew fights back, telling the Marines to arrest Arlong and give his treasure back to the villagers. Nezumi promises revenge and runs away. Later in Kokoyashi village, Genzo, speaking for the villagers, apologizes to Nami for treating her badly before. Meanwhile, Nezumi goes back to his Marine headquarters and reports Luffy, asking for a big bounty on him. The news of Arlong's defeat spreads to all the villages on the island, and the people celebrate their freedom. While Luffy eats and Zoro gets proper care for his injuries from Nako, Nami visits Bellmare's grave with Nojiko and Genzo. There, she tells them she plans to leave the village and join Luffy's crew. At night, during the celebration, Nami asks Nako to remove the Arlong Pirate's tattoo from her shoulder. She gets a new tattoo of a Makan branch and a pinwheel instead. After that, she goes home to pack her things. She leaves behind the 100 million bellies she had stolen. When Nami meets the crew at the dock, she ignores the villagers who try to thank her and quickly jumps onto the Going Merry ship. It turns out she pickpocketed money from the townspeople as she ran past them. Even so, the people still thank her as she sails away. Meanwhile, Genzo feels he doesn't need his pinwheel anymore and leaves it on Bellmare's grave. While the crew is sailing at sea, a news coup comes with a newspaper. They find a wanted poster for Luffy, showing that he has a bounty. It's revealed that because Luffy defeated many dangerous pirates in East Blue, the Marines see him as a big threat and put a bounty of 30 million bellies on his head, the highest in East Blue. The news spreads to both Luffy's friends and old enemies. One of them, Full Body, was punished and lowered in rank after a fight at the Barati. He sees Luffy's bounty as a chance to capture him and get his old rank back. When he sees the Going Merry passing by his ship, he tells his soldiers to attack it. But the crew fights back, and Full Body runs away when he sees Sanji. Meanwhile, Mihawk tells the Red Hair Pirates about Luffy's bounty, and they celebrate his success. The crew then decides where to go next. The only way to enter the Grand Line is through Reverse Mountain, but first they plan to stop at Logtown. It's called the Town of the Beginning and the End because it's where Gold Roger was born and also where he was executed. As they sail to Logtown, Buggy and Alvida decide to follow them. As the crew sails toward Logtown, Nami wonders where Buggy is. After Luffy threw him into the air, Buggy landed on an empty island, missing many of his body parts. He escapes on a raft to another island, but there an angry bird catches him. The bird tries to eat Buggy but spits him out into the sky. Buggy lands on a third island called the Island of Rare Animals. There, he meets Gaiman. When Gaiman learns Buggy is not hunting the animals, they become friends and drink together by a campfire. The next day, Buggy tries to leave on his raft, but a sea beast destroys it. Then, Alvida saves him. She has become much thinner since she fought Luffy. They sail together on Alvida's ship and decide to team up because they are both chasing the same person, Luffy. Back with the crew, night comes and everyone goes to sleep. Alvida and Buggy sail to their next place, planning to find Buggy's crew. The Buggy pirates had to run away from Orangetown after the people there fought them off. They took Buggy's body parts with them and went to another island. Thinking Buggy was dead, they held a funeral for him. Moji and Kabaji then argued about who should be the new captain. Moji and Kabaji fought a long duel to decide the captain, but both of them got knocked out by Richie, who was sleepwalking. So Richie became the new captain of the Buggy Pirates. But then, a scary group called the Kumite tribe attacked and captured all the Buggy Pirates. The Kumite tribe wanted to cook the Buggy Pirates alive to eat them, but Buggy and Alvida found their main ship at the island and came to help. Buggy, Alvida, Moji, and Kabaji fought the Kumite tribe using their own fighting skills and saved the pirates. Buggy got put back together, and the crew was reunited. Now, Buggy and Alvida's team sailed off to chase Luffy. Meanwhile, Luffy's crew was getting closer to Logtown. When the crew arrives at Logtown, They split up to explore the town and buy things. The Marine captain in Logtown, Smoker, hears about Luffy being active in East Blue. Smoker leaves his post to look for Luffy in the town. On the way, he fights and beats a pirate named Galley. Smoker then helps Luffy find the old execution platform, not knowing that Luffy is the very pirate he's hunting. Luffy goes to the Gold Roger bar, where the owner had met the famous pirate Gold Roger when he came to Logtown. They talk for a short time, and then Luffy leaves. Right after that, Smoker enters the bar. Smoker remembers seeing Gold Roger's execution when he was a child. Before Roger was executed, he said he left a great treasure called One Piece for another pirate to find. Luffy finally finds the execution platform. At the same time, Smoker realizes the boy he helped earlier is the pirate he wants to catch. He rushes to the execution platform to arrest Luffy. Meanwhile, Zoro meets Tashigi, Smoker's assistant. She fights off two men who were bothering her. Zoro helps her, but accidentally breaks her glasses. He notices that she looks a lot like his childhood friend, Quina. Smoker stops Luffy when he tries to climb the execution platform. Luffy tries to fight Smoker, but he misses and accidentally flies up into the air and far away from the platform. There, he sees the buggy pirates disguised and looking for him. When they notice Luffy, he quickly runs back to the execution platform. Meanwhile, Tashigi makes Zoro work as a cleaner at the Marine base to pay for breaking her glasses. But two other Marines recognize Zoro as one of Luffy's crew. Zoro fights them, takes their money, and runs away. Zoro goes to a sword shop to buy two swords. There he meets Tashigi again. He chooses a sword called Sandai Kitetsu, which is said to be cursed. To test if the curse is real, he throws the sword in the air and puts his arm in the way. The sword spins around his arm without hurting him. The shop owner is impressed and gives Zoro both the Sandai Kitetsu and another sword, Yubashiri, for free. Tashigi goes back to the Marine base and tells them that Zoro attacked two Marines. Usopp goes into a shop to find a pair of goggles. He starts arguing with a little girl named Carol over the same goggles. Carol buys the goggles for her dad, Daddy Masterson, a famous sniper. Usopp doesn't know Daddy is a feared bounty hunter, so he gets into a fight with him. Daddy sees Usopp's face on Luffy's wanted poster. They decide to settle their fight with a duel to the death. People from Logtown gather to watch the duel, but Usopp gets scared and tries to run away before taking 10 steps. Daddy stops him by shooting the gun out of his hand. The crowd leaves, feeling disappointed. Usopp then tells Daddy that he is the son of Yasopp, a famous pirate. Daddy tells Usopp how he knows Yasopp. When the red hair pirates came to Logtown, Yasopp fought Daddy in a duel. Yasopp won, but didn't kill Daddy. Yasopp told Daddy to quit the Marines and live closer to his daughter. Daddy became a bounty hunter after that. Feeling brave because of his father, Usopp asks for a second duel. Daddy agrees. Usopp has to shoot a weather vane far away. If he misses, Daddy will shoot him. Usopp shoots perfectly and wins the goggles. Sanji is walking through the streets when Carmen, called the best chef in East Blue, challenges him to a cooking contest. At first, Sanji doesn't care, but then he finds out the prize is a rare fish called the blue-finned elephant tuna, which only lives in the South Blue. So he decides to join the contest. The contest is like a tournament, and Sanji and Carmen become the two final cooks. At the end, before the winner is announced, Carmen admits that Sanji beat her. Sanji wins and gets the rare fish, which is taken to the Going Merry ship. At the same time, Luffy goes back to the execution platform. Smoker and Buggy see him and start following him. Luffy climbs up on the platform where Gold D. Roger was executed 22 years ago. A guard tells him to get down because the world government owns the place. Suddenly, Alvida hits the guard with her mace. Everyone in the crowd, men and women, is amazed by how beautiful Alvida looks now, but Luffy only remembers how she looked before. She says she liked how Luffy hit her last time and wants a strong man like him. More policemen come, but they are stopped by Alvida's beauty. Then Buggy shows up and uses a buggy bomb to blow up the fountain in the courtyard. A piece of the fountain flies toward Alvida, but slides off her body without hurting her. Alvida tells Luffy she ate the Sube no Mi devil fruit, which makes her skin super smooth and made her look younger and prettier, though she acts like she always looked that way. Kabaji traps Luffy with a set of stocks. Buggy says he will execute Luffy right there on the same platform where Gold D. Roger died. Elsewhere, Nami notices strange weather. A storm is coming suddenly. She tells Sanji and Usopp they need to hurry back to the Going Merry. Zoro arrives and asks if anyone has seen Luffy. He feels that something bad is going to happen. A Marine reports to Smoker and Tashigi that Luffy, Buggy, and Alvida are all in the town square. Smoker sends some Marines to the sea to stop any escape, and others to quietly surround the square for an ambush. When the other Straw Hats hear Buggy's plan to execute Luffy, Zoro and Sanji rush to save him. Nami and Usopp head back to the ship with supplies. Smoker watches the square and thinks Luffy looks weak. He decides to wait and let Buggy deal with Luffy before he attacks. Luffy gets scared when he realizes he might die. Nami tells Usopp the storm will be big. If the Marines catch Luffy and Buggy during the storm, it will be hard for them to escape. Marines are also getting ready to raid the harbor to catch pirate ships. The Going Merry is in danger from Moji and Richie, who find the ship by its Straw Hat flag and want to burn it so Luffy can't escape, even if he gets away from execution. At the square, Luffy pretends to beg for mercy like he's bored. Buggy gives him a chance for last words, and Luffy says he will become the Pirate King. The crowd is shocked. This gives time for Zoro and Sanji to fight their way through Buggy's and Alvida's men. Buggy swings his sword. Tashigi is shocked to see Zoro helping a pirate. Sanji is too far away to help knock down the platform. Smoker is about to order his men to attack when Luffy's head falls down. As Buggy's sword comes down, Luffy calls out to his crew. Smoker notices Luffy has a big smile on his face. Right before Buggy's sword hits Luffy's neck, lightning strikes Buggy and the platform. The platform catches fire and breaks apart. Luffy's hat falls to the ground and rain starts. Luffy is there, standing safe, while Buggy is electrocuted. Luffy laughs at how lucky he is. Sanji asks Zoro if he now believes in God. The crowd is shocked and just stares at Luffy. Smoker orders his men to attack, and Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji run away. While chasing them, Smoker thinks about Luffy smiling. Smoker remembers Roger and thinks Luffy acted just like him at his execution. Some Marines can't fight because the rain ruined their gunpowder, and the new wind will help a ship sailing to the Grand Line. Smoker decides he will personally catch Luffy. Elsewhere on the island, a man wearing a green hood with a big tattoo on his face walks through the streets. He says the storm of fate has arrived. After narrowly escaping death, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji hurry to the Going Merry, but Buggy and Alvida chase after them. Before Buggy and Alvida can leave, the Marines catch them, but they later manage to escape. On the way, Tashigi shows up and challenges Zoro to a sword fight because she thinks he lied to her. Zoro says he didn't lie, he just didn't tell her everything. Still, they start fighting with their swords. Meanwhile, Nami and Usopp reach the Going Merry just as Moji is about to set it on fire. Before Moji can attack Nami properly, the Marines arrive and shoot at Moji. Nami and Usopp use this chance to get on the ship and sail away. At the same time, Luffy and Sanji meet Smoker, who wants to catch Luffy. Sanji runs ahead and Luffy fights Smoker. Luffy tries hard but can't beat Smoker. Just when Smoker seems about to win, a mysterious person appears and stops him by creating a strong wind, giving Luffy time to escape. And Luffy uses his Gomu Gomu rocket to launch Sanji, Usopp, and Zoro onto the Going Merry. Smoker, Tashigi, Buggy, and Alvida decide to chase the Straw Hats to the Grand Line, splitting into teams. The Straw Hat crew is very happy to finally head to the Grand Line, and they all make promises before setting sail. And that's the end of Part 1, the East Blue Arc. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, share it with your friends, and comment your favorite moment below. Also, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.